Hey, what's going on? I'm Keith here at Sports Vibes TV, and as always, I'm joined by our NBA analyst, Stephen Fox. Foxy, how's everything with you?
All is well. Shout out to you. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the SV Nation. Can't wait to talk New York Knicks. How you doing?
Doing as good as I can be, especially when you take into consideration the loss that the Giants were handed by the Philadelphia Eagles. But I'll get over it, and hopefully the Knicks can go out there tonight and get us a W and get me back on the right track to start the week. What about you? How's everything with you?
The Jets lost, and it was a terrible UFC fights last night. I was shaking my head. So I thought this guy Patty lost, and
yeah, definitely lost.
It was like, oh God. So, but I can't wait to chop it up with you and the SV Nation.
Yep. Thank you for being able to withstand that Jets loss and still be able to stream some Knicks with me. So I appreciate that. Also, your boy Mike White got killed. He caught a Goldberg stare. I'm like, man, that guy's in the hospital. Got to have some broken ribs or something.
He got lit up.
Definitely. But also want to give a quick shout out to the chat. Thank you guys for tuning in for this edition of the Sunday stream. I want to give a quick shout out to Splashin12676, John Talento, Kaiser Soze 718. John Talento also says R.I.P. Paul Silas. Yeah, definitely want to give my condolences to the Silas family. Want to give R.I.P.s to a legend in the game. Foxy, anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, you mentioned our guy Kaiser Soze, Chris Dada, hope all is well. Dripmore, day one, hope all is well. Ex-Con, Lex the Destroyer, one of the greatest mods in history. Geraldine MacGyver, the one and the only Geraldine MacGyver, who I'm also been talking up, trying to get the Knicks GM job because I think she'll do a better job. King Ja, 1985, Dean Bushell, Webb. Can't wait to chop it up with all of you during the show today.
And it's pretty interesting that you brought up the GM position with the New York Knicks, because we will have a segment in the Around the League portion of the show towards the end where we'll talk about a GM in the league that really has been able to iron out an extension and could be on the market. So thank you, Foxy, for giving that little tease for us that we'll get into later on in the show.
Well, I don't know who that person is, but they sure ain't no Geraldine MacGyver.
I hear you on that one. So with that being said, let's just jump right into the first topic of today's show. And that's going to be this team and the way we've been playing defensively in the month of December. So I'm just going to put up on screen some of the stats for this squad so far throughout the month. As you can see, it's a somewhat small sample size, only 4 games played. But you can see that there has been a substantial change in the defense that this team has been playing. And I think that comes into part because, you know, Tom Thibodeau has gotten Quentin Grimes back, and he's also made a decision to remove Derrick Rose from the rotation and add Deuce McBride. And this is something we've been clamoring for since last season. So to see Tom Thibodeau finally do it now, I think is definitely something that Knicks fans should applaud. And it's already reaping just rewards with the performance we've seen on the defensive end over the last 3 games. So Foxy, anything you've noticed over the last 3 games with the addition of Deuce into the rotation?
Yeah, speed on the perimeter. You have Deuce there, and whether it's with IQ and Grimes, just those 3 players, their intensity, their intelligence, it's made a huge difference. And what you're seeing is also them maybe not taking a 3. They're getting up on them quicker than the last crew that we had. So all of a sudden they were about to take a 3 and then they pass. So the attempts I think are being impacted. And just really good defense. So hopefully they can keep it up. But I'm glad Tibbs made that change, man. It's all about what we've talked about is development. Give these kids significant minutes. Let's see what we have.
Yep, and you can see the offense has taken a hit with the addition of Deuce McBride to the rotation. But I mean, this team really hasn't had too many issues offensively. Yes, the offense isn't as modern as we would like, but the team has been able to put up numbers, even though we haven't been able to knock down the 3-point shot. So you see, we did take a dip with the offensive rating. We were at 113.5 in October, 112.6 in November, and now we're down to 109 in the month of December. But I think what was really the key of this team and what was really the Achilles heel was the way we were defending the 3-point line. So now that we have Quentin Grimes and Deuce McBride out there, they're doing a good job recovering on the perimeter. Also, Emmanuel Quickley, we can't not include him as well. They've been great recovering at the 3-point line and also have been great denying penetrators at the point of attack. And when you add Mitchell Robinson to that, you see a team that has been very good defensively. And I think this is something that we can continue to do moving forward. The only thing I'm a little skeptical about that has to be mentioned is the fact that we've been going up against teams that haven't had the full complement of players available. So that is something that I want to keep an eye on moving forward to see how this new 9-man rotation is going to look going up against teams at their full strength.
I think it's a great point. Hey, SV Nation, Keith and I never said the Knicks were going to be a bad team. We said they were going to be a mediocre team. We rounded off, I said, a 38 and what Keith said. So plus or minus, we said about a 500 team. So when you go against, Charlotte the other night, they're missing their best player, Ball. They're missing Haywood. They're missing DSJ, who's had a renaissance. He's having a very good year. He's, Cody Martin, Mark Williams, and not to mention Miles Bridges. But then, Atlanta, they were missing 3 out of their 5 starters. DeJounte Murray, Hunter, Collins. And then when we played the Cavs, they're missing Jared Allen, which is key to their defense. Wade, who's a key 3-point shooter and also on defense. So, hey, you're supposed to beat teams, in the Knicks, as a mediocre team, we beat teams, that were on there, that were hurt. And hopefully it happens again today with the people that are not going to play for Sacramento. But we won games that we were supposed to win, and that's good.
Yep, definitely good. I hope that we can continue to show this same type of fight, because even at the beginning of the season, I said, as long as this team is giving, energy, they're fighting, we're going to be in games. And you're seeing how we're performing against teams that aren't at their, 100% strength. And now I want to see how we look against teams that are a little bit healthier. We won't be able to see that tonight, but I think coming up over the next 7-8 games, we're going to be entering a much tougher stretch, and then we'll be able to get a better idea of what this team is moving forward and whether we can continue to move forward with this 9-man rotation or if more changes need to be made.
Yeah, and just one other thing to touch on is Deuce, that you and I talked off camera about, when we watch him in G League. He's smooth. His offensive game, I'm talking about, folks, it's smooth. Going back to my studying him at West Virginia, and I was like, wow, why is he throwing up bricks when he plays for the Knicks, but he's swoosh when he's playing in G League and stuff like that. But the last game, I think the nerves and the jitters, he hit a couple of. I'm just hoping for Deuce's sake, and I'm hoping for the kid. I hope well for all the young men. But if they just start dropping at the rate that I think they should drop because of his skills or his talents, I think that offensive rating will go up. But he's making good reads. And like you said, the defense, what we started the show with, is outstanding. But if he could pick up that offense just a little, and the same thing with Quick, have those threes start falling a little more, Grimes looks like he's finally getting into his rhythm. And across all the aspects of his game, he's really impressive.
Yep, defensively, Grimes has really impressed me. I think the addition of him to the rotation is definitely being felt. You saw, what was it, the game against Donovan Mitchell, where even Donovan Mitchell at the end of the game, you saw that Quentin Grimes earned his respect, because Donovan Mitchell made a point to go out there, dap him up. And I'm like, this is what we need. We need a young guy that other teams are going to go up against and say, all right, this man is a problem. Whether it be offensively, he can go off for a boatload of points, or defensively, he can make the opposing team's best player, night a living hell. And I think we have that in Quentin Grimes, and we could potentially have that in Deuce McBride as well. So that's why I'm excited to see what these guys can do now that Tibbs is finally giving them some minutes and opportunities to make an impact.
Yeah, I think Grimes may have been a pickpocket in a previous life. He has some quick hands to strip that ball.
Yep.
He's been doing. So, and I'm glad they turned it over when they looked at in the last game. He got a call that went our way, but he's been doing it almost every game, and he's very disruptive with those quick hands. Extremely
disruptive, and we have those two in Deuce and Quentin Grimes, and also Emmanuel quickly on the perimeter, and we have Mitch being a monster in the paint when he's out there being a wall. So I think defensively, this team is starting to figure it out, and offensively, I really don't have too many concerns. Julius Randle, the 3-point shot is falling for him. RJ Barrett is still inconsistent, but he's starting to figure it out, I hope. And then Jalen Brunson, I think he's still dealing with that ankle injury, so we haven't seen the best version of him, but I think he'll come around and start to play a little bit better moving forward. So I'm excited to see what we can do, and I'm open to seeing what this 9-man rotation would bring. Me personally, this is not the way I would go about it, but I mean, it's working so far. So we have to continue to let the process play itself out, and make decisions based on the results. But I want to get, you want to hit those boxes before we move on?
I was just going to say strategically, it's not going to happen with Tibbs, but I was saying to myself, Sacramento is going to be missing a lot of their key players, their best player, that maybe it wouldn't be such a bad thing to give Brunson the night off because he'd have 5 days off between that quad, between that ankle, between his hand that's injured. He's a little guy that's taken a lot of charges, taken a lot of hits, that maybe for the betterment of the host season, it'd be a prudent move to rest him today and let him just fix those ailments and come in a little fresher after a 5-day rest for the next game. But it would never happen with Tibbs.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I liked is the fact that he only played 27 minutes in the last game, even though Tibbs was pissing me off by putting the starters back in when we were up like 20, and there's only 7 minutes to go in the fourth. I'm like, is this guy really? Is this guy serious? Even Clyde had to call him out. He's like that's Tibbs for you. But I mean, at least Brunson was able to get a little bit of a breathe. So that's a positive I'll take from the game, especially when he wasn't having a very good shooting night.
Absolutely. But I think we see it on his shooting that he's I think, legs are everything in shooting, folks. So if that quad's hurting, that ankle's hurting, and a few other things, impacts your shooting. So maybe a little rest would do him good for the long haul.
Facts. So Foxy, I just wanted to get into this tweet from Fred Katz. It says, over the Knicks' last 3 games played, the Cavaliers, Hawks, and Hornets have combined to shoot just 20 for 97, which is 20.6% from the three-point line. And obviously, that percentage won't keep up. But one thing to watch is the attempts. Only 32.3 threes allowed a game is a real downtick from earlier. And I think that just, is showing the impact that some of these young guys are having out there. In the games we played against the Cavaliers previously, we had Rose and Fournier out there trying to defend the three-point line, and the Cavs really had their way against us. But now you see us having, Quentin Grimes, Deuce McBride, and also Emmanuel quickly really bugging opposing teams and running guys off the three-point line and not allowing them to get comfortable and get into a rhythm and then turn, the game into like a shoot around. So the fact that we are, letting our presence be felt out there defensively is something I definitely like. And then Deuce also, he's been giving some hard fouls, let the opposing team feel us. I like that toughness out there,
You're preaching to a guy, so he's letting that inner football player come out.
Facts.
Yo, you got 6 fouls, make them count. So yeah, I like that that he lets it. Hey, all of them, if you watch it, especially Grimes and Miles, man, they like bumping their chest. They like using that and that lateral quickness for them. It's so important at the point of attack. I think the last 3 games, part of this is being able to get in front of the guy. So they're either doing a pull up instead of getting to the hole, or like you just said, their closeout so much better than Fournier and Rose and stuff like that, that instead of going up with the shot, they're like, oh, he's coming in, they pass it off. So that's why, as Katz just said, shout out to Fred for Katz, that their three-point attempts are down.
Yep, but you said it perfectly, Foxy. We're making teams second guess themselves, both on the three-point line and also when they get into the paint. There was a moment where I think Scary Terry had drove into the paint, kind of got the step on Quentin Grimes, who was guarding him, but he had to throw up a little bit of a pump fake and then pivot back out and try to pass the ball up because he knew Mitchell Robinson was there patrolling the paint. And once we have guys, second guessing themselves out there on the court, you're going to see it affect them, shooting wise. The fact, even when, Jalen Brunson was taking a jump shot, you saw Clyde say he's kind of aiming his shot. He's thinking a little bit too much. And that really plays a part out there on the game. So the fact that teams have to be wary of what guards are doing on the perimeter, as well as what Mitchell Robinson is doing in the paint, it definitely bodes well. And this is the type of defense, I think, if we can play with this same sort of effort and tenacity, that could carry over into the playoffs and maybe help us get into a little bit of a run. Maybe that might be a little bit of hopeful thinking, but I think, defense definitely wins championships. And if we are going up against teams that are more talented than us, we're going to have to out-hustle them. We're going to have to outfight them, and we're going to have to out-defend them.
Yeah, I watched the game several times, and I was trying to be really cool about it, but I really understood why Tibbs is going with his team. I mean, it's like, what about Cam? What about Cam? Cam is, you and I call it about a tease. We called him a court tease for quite some time, that we see these flashes on offense, we see these flashes on defense. But when you watch these guys that we just talked about, it's every single possession. It's not a flash. It's consistent possession in, possession out of tough defense. Not, oh, nice play by Cam and then invisible, and nice play by Cam. And I think Tibbs is basically saying, I'm going to go with these guys because I know possession in, possession out, they're going to execute what I want them to do on defense and not get lost.
But that's also a load of malarkey, because there's a few guys in the starting lineup that ain't giving that type of effort.
They're making $100-something million.
Yeah, true. I'll give you that one. Touche. Touche.
I'm with you. I wish it was not that favoritism or a double standard. I'll do this over there, but not over there. But we've lived that through Tibbs now. But yeah, there's a couple of guys, and when it rhymes with DJ that can't get around a screen after all these games. So we'll see.
Yeah, there's definitely some favoritism, because I've never seen Tibbs so quick to call it a challenge. Grimes said, review it. Tibbs said, all right, son, I got you. And, he definitely is a fan of Quentin Grimes, and Grimes has his trust. So hopefully he can continue, to pay that off and have good performances, even when he's not a ball dominant guy. So he finds ways to score with ease, whether it be, other players collapsing the defense and him cutting, or him just standing at the 3-point line and being able to catch and shoot and knock down the three efficiently. He's starting to get the shot to fall. You mentioned that earlier, and I'm excited to see what he can do. I mean, this front office made it seem like he was Mr. Untouchable, so I'm glad that now he's given an opportunity to show the fans what the front office sees in him. And I'm liking what I'm seeing so far.
And you said the magic C word, cutting. Grimes, we see him cutting. It's like, whoa, finally we get a guy and he's getting fed, that he keeps consistently during every game. You see him doing sequences of him cutting to the basket, which is good basketball. So, yeah, just like to see them keep it up.
Excellent. I just want to take a moment now to give a quick shout out to the chat. Thank you guys for tuning in. We surveyed 100 people, pulling up with not the full starting lineup, but he has an injury update. He says De'Aaron Fox is confirmed out tonight with right foot soreness. So fortunate for us in terms of win-loss, but I would have liked to see us go up against a team, that was healthy, just to get a better assessment of the squad. But hopefully we go out there and we're able to punch the Kings in the mouth. Sabonis and Randle is always, something that you got to get your popcorn for. So I'm excited for the game tonight.
He's having a very nice season. I know he's not on your top 5 favorite players, Sabonis, but he's having a pretty darn good season.
I don't mind Sabonis.
Cool.
Sabonis is decent.
Did our field producer, we surveyed 100 people, say anybody else besides Fox who's out?
No, I don't see anything at the moment.
We were talking off camera. We think Keegan may not be playing today.
Keegan Murray, something with a finger.
Yeah, their prize rookie.
That'd be another.
His brother the other night, his twin brother. It's so weird. I saw so many players. It's so weird that you could be twins and one has such different skills. From a DNA perspective, you're like, wow, man.
I hear you on that one. Can we think of any other ones like that? The Lopez brothers? I mean, that kind of happened towards their playing careers, though, in the NBA. With Lopez, I can't even say Lopez. Brooke has developed a nice little jump shot, and I think he's a much better rim protector as well.
Yeah, but Robin has better hair.
I hear you on that one. Also, we got 89 people in chat. Do us a solid. Make sure you smash that like button. We only got 28 likes. We try to hit at least 100, so help us on our journey to 100. Smash that like button, and also make sure you're subscribed and tuned in. You have notifications set to all. We stream live Sundays, normally at 6, but when there's a Knicks game, we typically adjust the time. So make sure you're subscribed and you have notifications set to all. That way you never miss a live stream.
Yeah, special shout out to our brother Adele Chapman. He had a milestone event a couple of weeks ago. Little Avery, his baby girl, said daddy for the first time. So nice. I know that must have been a real special moment. So shout out to you, Adele. Congratulations on that milestone, and give Avery a high for both of us.
Salute to you, Adele. One of the mods of the channel, holding it down. Appreciate your support, and salute to you and the family. All right, so let's move to the next slide. This one breaking down Deuce and Quentin a little bit more. This is from Tommy Bear. Salute to him. Make sure you guys check him out on Twitter. It says the two-man lineup of Quentin Grimes and Deuce McBride has posted an insane defensive rating of 75.4 in the 58 minutes they've been on the floor together this season. That's the lowest defensive rating for any two-man lineup in the NBA that has logged more than 50 minutes together this year. And like I said in the beginning of the stream, Foxy, we've been saying this since last year. Let those guys loose. Deuce McBride from last season could have been a defensive stopper for us. I mean, we saw some of the hell he gave guards last season when he was given.
Yeah.
We saw the way he was able to defend, and we knew Quentin Grimes, one thing he was going to do when he came into the league was be able to defend and shoot the three. Anything other than that is just icing on the cake, especially when he's going to be doing it at such a high level, at least defensively. The three-point shot isn't there, but he's starting to look like he's figuring it out. So to see that these two have been the best defensive duo out there in the limited time they've been playing together, it doesn't surprise me, but I didn't know that they were going to be this great. Foxy, what have you seen with those two guys out there on the court, and do you think this could potentially be a recipe for success long term?
Well, you and I always talked about that when you're a team that's not talented with great players, one of the things you have to do is play physical, to try to counteract their elite athleticism and stuff like that. They bring the physicality, Grimes and Miles, man. And then, and Miles, he's the type of guy that you hate, whether it's, and the same thing with Grimes and IQ's not here. Those guys will be a pest every single possession, and some of them are 94 feet of pest. And that gets into people's head where, damn, I gotta, if they're not, they're not comfortable with their left handle or whatever it is, this guy's on me every single second, and that gets into their head. So I'm not surprised by that. Physicality and pressure really melts a lot of players.
Yeah. In fact, the only thing I would say though is we have good players. I just don't think we have that elite star on the squad. I think we have a lot of solid role players. So I wouldn't say we don't have good players. We just don't match up with some of the elite teams in the league. But I think if, like you said, if we give that hustle, we give that effort, I think we can be extremely competitive with some of the better teams. Will we win, a 7-game series against, a team like the Celtics, a team like the 76ers, it'd be extremely difficult. But we can make it hard for them by playing tough-nosed defense. And who knows, if our shot starts to fall a little bit more as a team, I think this team can be, a party pooper in the playoffs, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I hear you going in and out. Check it for a second while I make a comment, your audio.
Is it going in and out still?
It was a second ago. So last week you made a change. It was perfect for the rest of the show. I don't know if you have to do that same, but getting back to what Keith was just saying, I was thinking about, my mentality of the old Detroit Pistons. Like Keith was saying, that they were going against really, really good teams and beating them because of that physicality. And as a guy, like a lot of the, maybe the older Knick fans in the chat and stuff that was around for Charles Oakley, that was around for Mace, physicality is really a big thing in games. And RJ is not a physical player, even though he has the body to be one, and Randle can be physical, but he's not physical possession for the possession. And the guys that we just talked about with the great defensive rating, they are.
Yeah. How's it now, Foxy? A little bit better?
Beautiful. I'll let you know as you go, but I heard the same, so far so good. So let's say Hail Mary, full of grace.
Right.
Let that audio stay in place.
That was a good one. All right. So Foxy, I want to put up on screen just the stats for the starters. You can see the starters in this new 9-man rotation: Jalen Brunson, Quentin Grimes, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson. So you can see Jalen Brunson's been struggling the last few games, but he's averaging 20.2 points per game, 3.3 rebounds per game, 6.4 assists per game, and still low turnovers, only 1.8, even though he has, turned the ball over some in the last few games. But He's shooting the ball at 46.3% from the field and right around 33, or right on the money at 33% from the three-point line and 88% from the charity stripe. So how have you felt about Jalen Brunson's performance since the last time we spoke? I know he's dealing with some injuries, at least that's what it looks like from the outside looking in, but he's battling through and he's out there for his teammates. So how have you felt about his performance recently?
He's a warrior. It's you go through 82 games, you're going to go through spurts of up and down of your shooting and stuff like that. So I thought he was, his 3-point shooting was coming up, and then he hit a little over the last few games. But like we said, I think he's a little banged up. But last year, I don't know if you remember, folks, we played them when he was on Dallas, and he was grimacing throughout the game on a bad foot last year. So he got over that and made it through the season. So he'll make it through this season, but Grimes is new, so a couple of those turnovers is, again, getting to know some new guys on the team, their tendencies and stuff like that. So, Grimes, like I said, A on my book, he's done great, and his attitude, his leadership, everything about him. You can just see the way the players look at him. They respect him. You can see how the competitors look at him. They also respect him. So no complaints on Jalen Brunson here.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of what Jalen Brunson has been able to do. And once he's able to get back on track, I think this team is going to have the offensive firepower to compete with other teams. We just have to keep up that defensive intensity. And Jalen Brunson, he has not been, great defensively, but he has been given a lot of effort and he sacrifices his body. So even though he does, struggle at times to stay in front of his man, at least he's able to, get some charges here and there and create some turnovers. So that's something I definitely like.
Absolutely.
So we discussed Quentin Grimes for the most part. So I want to get into RJ Barrett and see how you felt about his recent performance. So for the season, he's averaging 18.5 points per game, 5.5 rebounds per game, almost 3 assists per game, right around 2.3 turnovers per game. And he's shooting 40.7% from the field and still has been unable to get that 3-point percentage over 30%. He's still only shooting 28.6 from the 3-point line and 78% from the charity stripe. So, Foxy, how have you felt about RJ? It seems like he's starting to turn the corner a little bit. Been extremely inconsistent to start the season, but he's been able to put together a few games over the last 3 where you can say, all right, it seems like he's starting to figure things out, and maybe he might be getting past that point where, it's just a slow start to the season.
Yeah, we've faced some bad teams. So, like you said, he's not lighting it up from 3 or from mid-range jumpers. He's doing what RJ does. Most of his shots are at the hole. So he gets to the hole and he gets to the foul line and you blink and you're like, whoa, 18 points or 20 points. So we've talked about him not really being the sexiest player we've ever seen, but he puts up the points and we're just looking for him to, miss a lot less bunnies and maybe have those jumpers, come along. We said he has an elite skill getting to the hoop. You just want him to get an elite skill finishing at the hoop. So he's playing okay. He's playing okay. Defensively, he's been a horror this year.
Yeah.
But let's see. Hey, 2.9 assists, 2.3 turnovers. That's upsetting to me. There's too many times he's gone 1-on-3 or he's shown selfish, characteristics without kicking the ball out to somebody else. So if he can finish this year and or by the by the All-Star break, have a much better assist to turnover ratio, that'll put a smile on my face. But we know that he's going to always be scoring 18 to 20 points. The only difference, folks, is we cross our fingers that he can do it efficiently.
Yeah, I hear you on that, Foxy. And his defense has definitely been an issue. I think JD, shout out to JD Sports Talk NY over on Twitter, he put out a video showing RJ just allow Miles Plumlee to just race past him on his way up the court and get an easy bucket. And I think that is just inexcusable. So RJ Barrett is definitely going to have to up the effort out there defensively, or Tibbs is going to have to keep the same energy he showed my man Cam when he benched him. I'm not saying outright bench RJ Barrett, but if RJ Barrett is not going to go out there and give the type of energy that's needed throughout the entirety of the game, that especially when you have Tibbs, like in the last game, Tibbs played him pretty much the first 15 minutes of the game. He played almost the entirety of the first quarter, and then he played him 3 minutes into the second quarter. So if you're going to give a guy that much playing time, especially in that large stretch, then we need to see him give effort 100% out there defensively, because he can't be a liability, especially when we see the young guys like Quentin Grimes, Quickly, and Deuce McBride giving it all defensively. So hopefully RJ is able to work on that defense and work on that effort, because I think a lot of it is just pure effort. He's not really giving his all, trying to get around those screens and try to stay in front of his man. So if he can give a little bit, because it's not a good look. The man just got paid, and now we're seeing him, not really giving his all out there. It's not what you would want to see, especially from a young player. So hopefully he can get it together and figure it out. I still got faith in him. Hopefully he'll be able to turn this around, and we can continue to move forward him as a building block for this squad.
Yeah, from an analyst standpoint, something that hit me between the eyes this past week from watching a lot of film is he has virtually no second bounce. And SV Nation, when I mean that, when he goes up for his initial jump, when he comes down, he doesn't have that. Some guys, Melo, even though Melo was a big guy, had one of the most incredible second bounces. He'd go up, boom, and he'd go up for that second time, lightning quick, and you look for a second bounce. And, and it started, if you go back to the Memphis game where Ja got that rebound, in crunch time and put the ball in. If you watch that play, RJ was there, Ja went up, got the ball, and then he went up again. RJ never went up a second time. He was like in cement. And if you watch game after game, stop, rewind, he has virtually no second bounce, that guy. So I knew he was slow, and I knew he lacked second, a first step and explosion. But wow, if you don't have second bounce in the NBA, that impacts you in other ways too, man. And we've seen us get beat on offensive rebounds and stuff like that. So, and Clyde, how many games have we gone through this year where Clyde's like, nobody boxes out folks in the NBA anymore. So between technique and, in his case, lack of burst, it's really evident that he has no second bounce, man.
Yeah, definitely the athleticism leaves a lot to be desired. But he caught a body last game, so salute to him for that. Give him a little round of applause. There we go. Did catch a body, so salute to him for that one. Also,
hear it.
Oh, you didn't hear it?
No.
Chat, did you guys hear it? I heard it.
Oh, okay.
Well, fingers crossed the chat heard it. Also want to give a quick shout out to We Surveyed 100 People. He's pulling up with another update. He says Keegan Murray and Terrence Davis both playing tonight. So those are two guys that will be available for the Kings. Also, Adele Chapman says, I know Keith is feeling this Cohan offseason. Facts. Cohan is throwing the bag left, right, and center. If the Grom ain't want to be here, see ya. He's out of here. We ain't worried about him. We already got our pitching rotation set, and we good to go.
The Japanese pitcher?
Yeah, we added him. We've got Scherzer already, Verlander. So we're doing good. I'm happy. Maybe need to add a batter too, but it is what it is. The payroll's already high enough.
We got Aaron Judge and did I say
Crickets?
Aaron Judge yet?
I mean, Aaron Judge in itself was a big signing. You had to bring him back. There's no way you could have let him leave.
You and I were saying I'd rather him put the money toward let Judge go and get a DeGrom and a Verlander, get pitching. Because no matter how good Judge is, we're not going to go far if we don't upgrade our pitching on the New York Yankees.
Well, aren't you guys still in on Rodon?
Yeah, it's still in until it's signed. Or we'll wake up in the morning and St. Louis Cardinals sign Rodon or somebody else. And it's like, come on, man.
I hear you on that one. Well, you know me, I swim in the tears of Yankees fans, so I ain't stressing it.
You live too close in the Bronx.
Word. Every time I'm by Yankee Stadium, I'm ducking the Dodger. They can't catch me out there. All right, but back to the Knicks. Let's talk a little bit about Mitchell Robinson. Now, Mitchell Robinson has been inconsistent for the most part this season, but I think we've definitely seen his impact out there on the court since he's returned from that little injury scare. He's averaging 7.1 points per game, 8.1 rebounds per game. I don't really even want to get into the assists per game, but less than one. He's averaging less than one turnover, and he's shooting 71.3% from the field. No three-point attempts, which is not surprising. And we would have hoped that the free throw shooting would have been a little bit better, but he's only shooting 41.9% from the charity stripe. So, Foxy, how have you felt about Mitch over the last few games, and do you think he's starting to get into stride and find his own?
Yeah. I just brought up the term second bounce before. Talk about somebody with an extraordinary second bounce. It's Mitchell Robinson. You watch those offensive rebounds and other things. Hey, I think the key, and you and I have touched on it for a while, that one of the keys to Mitchell Robinson in some of the games we watched is he got they set him up like one of the first plays of this, get him going offensively. So for lobs, he gets all excited. So they started the game where one of the first early possessions, he got a couple of lobs, couple of buckets, gets his energy, his chi going, good energy, and go from there. So hopefully he can put together more consistency. What a difference Mitch makes versus our other centers, man. So I'm just hoping he can be consistent and start earning that $60 million contract he signed.
Yeah, Mitch does. I mean, he does a similar task as Jericho Sims, but just the size, the length, and the strength. You just see him be a problem out there for opposing teams. They can't keep him off the offensive rebounds. And when it comes to driving into the paint, he's always there. And if not to get the blocks, he's forcing them to adjust their shots. And you can see it when he doesn't get the block. They're also mindful of him, and the way they try to go off the glass is different. The angle in which they lay the ball up is different, and it forces a lot of misses. So, with Mitchell Robinson on this team, I'm happy we were able to re-sign him. And, I'm just still keeping my fingers crossed that he can develop a little bit more of an offensive game. But we've seen guys like, Rudy Gobert get to the All-Star game without having much of offensive repertoire. So hopefully if Mitch can give, similar level of defense out there, then maybe he can still be an anchor that we can build around and try to, use as a centerpiece defensively to get a championship at some point.
And the key is just staying healthy. So we're all saying prayers, Mitch, stay healthy, no nagging injuries, no catastrophic injuries, God forbid. But if he can stay healthy, then we think maybe he can start realizing that potential. And you brought this up on previous streams. He has a descending contract. In a couple of years, he'll be making $13 million, which is really backup money. So it's not a bad contract as long as he's still he's on the court, and we know he'll be a defensive force.
Definitely. And I wanted to pull up something. Let's see if I can get it in time. Just wanted to look at some of the contested rebounds, because one thing about Mitch, he's definitely been battling for rebounds. And you have to really see how he compares to other bigs around the league when it comes to contested rebound percentage. So I just wanted to put this on the screen. So as you can see, Mitchell Robinson is leading the league in highest contested rebound percentage. So he's doing better rebounding contested balls, better than AD, Podol, Adams, Duren, who's pretty interesting to see him on this list, especially during his rookie season. So I'm sure the Detroit Pistons and their fans are pretty excited about that. You also see Capella, Zubac. We got another Nick on there, iHeart. So salute to iHeart, definitely putting in
two in the top 10.
Yep, 2 in the top 10. Plumlee, and then you got Sengun that rounds out the top 10. So were you as surprised as I was to see iHeart on the list? I figured Mitch would be there. I didn't know he'd be number 1, so that was a little bit surprising as well. But I didn't know iHeart would be there, top 10.
Yeah, cannot tell a lie. I was surprised. So I know he can test. I just didn't know he was at the level of him being in the top 10 in the league. So we knew that, he's an effort guy. So there was no doubt about that. Just didn't realize at the level that he's doing it successful.
Yeah, so salute to our big men. The centers have definitely been doing their thing. And also, we've also seen Jericho Sims out there with iHeart. So our centers are out there showing their versatility and how impactful they can be. And coming into this season, that was one of the things we said, that the Knicks had probably the best center depth throughout the league. And we're already seeing that so far. What are we, 24, 25 games into the season? 26 games. Into the season. So I'm excited with the centers we have on this squad. They're all fairly young. I think the oldest would be iHeart, because Mitch is I think iHeart might.
iHeart's young.
Exactly. So, this team, we have a solid trio at the center position. We just need Tibbs to utilize them the right way. It's still rubbing me the wrong way that Tibbs is trying to use iHeart in a similar role as Mitchell Robinson, when iHeart has a skill set that differs from Mitch and can be utilized in different ways, especially offensively. But
it breaks my heart when you see his assist numbers, and we know what he's capable of. And like we said, you don't have to run at everything, but the whole thing about a good coach is that you run different looks during a game. So let him, be at that pinch post and passing it instead of, everybody's saying, here comes a dribble handoff, and stuff like that. So let him face the basket. At that size, you're going to see the passing lanes, and he has that skill. So, but shout out to him. And also, again, folks, playing on an inflamed Achilles, that impacts explosion. And talk about he had a block on Kai Jones that jumped off the freaking sofa. A lot of people don't know Kai Jones was for the Bahamian national track team. He ran track. So he was an athlete. What he's trying to do is become a basketball player, Kai Jones. So you saw him go coast to coast after a steal on RJ for a dunk. And then when IR blocked, it was like, nice play.
Definitely. Want to give a shout out.
It's contested.
Exactly. I mean, iHeart can contest at the rim. It's just sometimes he's a little bit slow to rotate and he gets caught out of position. So if he can get a little bit better with the rotations, and it's going to come with time, he's still new to the team, still trying to figure things out. So hopefully over time, things will start to get a little bit better. Just want to give
It's also the issues of an inflamed, Achilles. You get slower if you have an inflamed Achilles too.
Definitely hampers your mobility. Want to give a shout out to Lex the Destroyer. He says, thank you for the 50 likes. Best fans around. Let's keep it going to 100 likes. Smash that like button. Definitely, we've got 53 likes and 138 people in chat. If we can get 20 of you guys to smash that like button, we'd be at 73 and well on our way to 100. So do us a solid. If you haven't hit that like button already, now would be a great time to do so. Smash the like button and make sure you are subscribed. So,
absolutely. Shout out to Kenny Adams. Why does Mitch fall all the time?
All the time.
I think it's because he could see it, the chicks in the first row better. I don't know, man, but between him and Brunson, and iHeart, they are on the court all the time, man.
Lex the Destroyer says, I'd play Sims before I play iHeart. Me too, honestly.
Me too, 3.
There's sometimes he goes to iHeart, and I'm like, I would probably go to Sims in this position, especially when you imagine Sims out there defensively with Deuce. Well, not necessarily. Yeah, with Deuce, because
with Deuce,
Sims is.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
He's shooting 80% from the foul line. And folks, I'm watching a lot of Westchester Knicks. He's showing offensive moves that it's like, I can't wait till he does that on the Knicks, not just on the Westchester Knicks. Hey, just a real quick shout out to Trevor Keels. I've been kind of tough on the kid. His shooting stroke looks nice. I watched the last few games and he's been working on his shooting stroke. So shout out to Trevor Keels, man. I like when I see development and he's absolutely improving.
Well, that's very nice of you, Foxy, to give him a shout out. Salute to Trevor Keels.
Hey, I like I said, as a fan, I'm compassionate, and as an analyst, I'm merciful. I'm merciless. But if I see, him getting better, and he's getting better, smoother release, better, his shooting form, his mechanics. So, got to give the guy a shout out. He's a young man. Like I said, I wish well for all of these guys.
Yes. Salute to George. George, I don't know if I'll be able to send the link, because with the OBS, it's not like StreamYard. So if I send the link midstream, it might throw everything off. So we might have to table the pregame for next time with you included. I apologize for that, George. We'll make it up next time.
Oh, I love you, George. I miss you.
Yeah, because the behind the scenes, Foxy. If I add George,
you know too well.
Yeah, it'll throw everything out of loop.
Man. Yeah, we light a candle every time we do a show.
Yeah, so apologies, George. We'll make it up. We'll get you on next time.
Anudi 25s. How are you? You just dropped by. My brother from the Bronx, Julian Blum.
Yeah, make sure you guys also subscribe to my guy George. He'll be dropping some fire at the post game.
every post game, man. I don't miss it. They're phenomenal. Great journalism, great passion. He really captures what a lot of us Knicks fans feel. So I love my George.
Back salute to him. No worries, brother. It was a great stream. Thank you, man. We appreciate it. So before we move on to the bench, we got to talk about Julius Randle or not. People will be in the comment section said how you ignore Julius. So let's get into Julius. He's been averaging 22.1 points per game for the season. 8.7 rebounds per game, 3.5 assists per game, 2.6 turnovers per game. He's shooting 46.2% from the field, 34.1% from the three-point line, and close to 80% from the charity stripe. So his shot has started to fall, and we have seen him play much better. This is the version of Julius Randle that we saw during Tibbs season 1. And I think if the Knicks are going to be making any type of noise this season, we're going to need Julius Randle to be invested in playing this type of basketball. But then the question, comes up, is this something that you think is sustainable long term? And if you don't think it's sustainable, is this the right time to try and look to move off of Julius Randle when he's playing much better? Because I believe it was Sean Devaney, he had a report saying that Julius Randle trade value goes up and down with his jump shot. So right now he's hitting his jump shot. He's got that 3-point percentage up to close to 35%, the field goal percentage to 46%. Do you think this is the time that we should look to move on from Julius Randle, or should we continue to try and ride this out, see if this is something that Julius Randle can sustain long term and continue to build around him?
I think, first of all, shout out to Julius. Monster games. You can't say anything. Not only had a great game, but the Atlanta game was absolutely monster. It was like 33 points or so, 17 rebounds, the assists. I don't think he had a turnover in that game, or he had...
Yeah, the 30, 15, 5, no turnovers, yep. First player in history.
Yeah, so killer, nothing but good things. Julius, power to you. Hey, with that type of thing, my answer to your question, Keith, would be being selective versus the way you and I and a lot of the SV Nation was a short time ago. Any offer, we'll take it. Just get him the hell out of here. I don't care. But if he's playing, and also if you notice, folks, he's been playing with a smile on his face. So and I'm serious. You know me about body language and stuff. Maybe he's chilling, or he's relaxing, whatever it is. But his shot, he's playing well. So when he's playing well like that, let's see how he does for this team. We're only a blink away from a couple of years ago, second team All NBA. But be selective. If an offer, I'd like to move off Julius over the next couple of years. I just don't think his style of game, ISO, when he gets the ball, even when he scores, I don't think it's really conducive to a winning team basketball. He just uses up too much of the clock, and his defense, he could be great on one possession and take off a couple. So he's in a good spell now, and I don't want to put any negative energy during his way. But if I was the front office and the right offer came through, I'm not going to give away Julius at this point, not when he's playing at this. So I'd be selective to answer your question, Keith.
I wouldn't blame you for being selective, especially with the way he's been performing. But I would look to entertain a deal as long as it's reasonable and we're getting the proper value for a guy like Julius Randle. Kaiser Soze, he says he's hitting up the desperate Suns to try and fleece them or the Lakers. If we can swindle a team for Julius Randle where we can get some decent picks and maybe some young players in return, I'm all for it. You know what I mean? I don't know if Julius Randle will be able to sustain this level of play. I hope so, because it would mean, this team is going to be competitive game in and game out. We're going to beat the brakes off of teams that are either rebuilding or not better than us. And then we'll be competitive against some of the more elite teams in the league. But I just don't know. After seeing what I saw last year, I don't think this is something that he can do for the entirety of the season. And, some people would counter and said, yes, he did it year one, so that's why they think he can do it this season. But those were a completely different set of circumstances with the way that the league was run. Bubble, not really a bubble per se, but they weren't allowing the full selection of fans to actually come in and watch the game. So I think with that type of environment, it really worked well for Julius Randle that season. And, if he can recreate that magic this year, then you hold him for the rest of this season and you trade him in the offseason. So at least somebody else can deal with it next year and give that, gamble to see if he'll be able to do it another year back to back. But me personally, I like the way he's been playing so far. He does have some bonehead plays here and there, that can kind of make you scream and want to rip your hair out. But for the most part, he's been playing solid, and he's been one of the key reasons this team has been winning over the last 3 games.
Yeah, but like we said, he wasn't facing John Collins. He wasn't facing, didn't have Jared Allen over there when he went against Cleveland, etc. So yeah, is Julius gonna have a smile on his face when he starts playing, rosters that have everybody on the team of good teams, and that that he can't do what he's doing right now on these bad teams. So. Hey, like I said, I just want him to keep it up. I'm happy for him, and play games like that. You have to give the guy some flowers, man.
Yeah, definitely have to give him some credit. Just the only question is can he do it long term? Which is a reasonable question, especially seeing the way he played last year. All right, so let's jump into the new bench rotation. So now we have Deuce McBride replacing Derrick Rose. And we really don't have anybody replacing Cam. We just took him out of the lineup. But we do have Jericho Sims replacing an unfortunately injured Obi Toppin. So, Foxy, how did you feel about that Twin Tower pairing we saw between Jericho Sims and iHeart out there on the court? Do you think that's something that Tom Thibodeau should explore a little bit further? Or do you think that's a lineup that could be exposed potentially?
I think it could be exposed potentially. But, like we said, let's see it. It's too much. It's short of a sample size to really see if it's really happening. So I have no problem giving it a little, a few more times. Hey, the one thing, for sure, it's not going to be a lack of effort on these guys. So there may be some learning curves and new things and rotations and stuff. But as long as you have the effort that they give forth and that's going to happen, anything could happen. They're exciting, man.
Yeah, definitely exciting. Definitely like the fact that Jericho Sims got the nod. Before the pregame, I was on with George, and I wasn't sure how it would work. I mean, initially, it didn't have the best result. I think it ended up being -5 when those two were on the court together, and Tips kind of pulled the plug real quick. But I think he went to it again in the second half, and we definitely saw better results. So I'm open to him experimenting and trying things new. Me personally, I just thought it might have made more sense to go with Cam at the 4, seeing that he has showcased a much better ability to knock down the 3. But iHeart, when he was out there, he knocked down the 3. So if he can give you that shooting and that floor spacing, then maybe this is something that the Knicks can try to use a little bit more, all right, until Obi Toppin gets healthy, which we'll discuss a little bit more moving forward.
Yeah, I hope for iHeart, that 3-pointer looks. I'm just hoping they can go in a lot more consistently. And as for the pregame that you did with George, I have an issue with you.
Oh, you got beef with me?
Yeah, I got an issue with you. You're on with George, all dressed up with a tie and shirt, all styling GQ. What, you don't get beautiful for me? You get beautiful for George? All I get is, SV hoodies and stuff like that. And you look like, ready to go into a boardroom for George. So it's like, yo, where's the love?
Listen, man.
Going?
I was stuck on the Bronx River Parkway for like 40 minutes because a cop cruiser hit and got involved in a 3-car accident. So by the time I got home, I didn't have time to really change, and I was already holding George up. So I felt bad. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to throw on the SV windbreaker, and the stream is going to take me as I am. And, it was a solid stream, so I apologize for that, Foxy. At least on Sunday, I try to set it up so I have more time to prepare. So that way you see me, lounging a little bit more on the Sundays.
Well, it was a great stream, as always, you and George. I love that. But it did create an idea. I'm thinking of an SV pocket square now. So I have the suit style and everything, and just have that little SV pocket square. Yo, makes the whole outfit, just rounds it up perfect.
Make it pop. We gotta see if we can get one of those made up.
All right.
Like KG says, anything is possible. Kaiser Souls 8718 says we should have drafted Halliburton. I'm not gonna argue there. I'm not gonna argue with that, Kaiser. Yeah. George says, into the Knicks verse, I really think we hit the nail on the head. There must have been a post-game argument between Tibbs and Cam after the Dallas game. Yeah, because it makes no sense for him to just be removed from the lineup entirely. And also, ladies and gentlemen, I want to ask you, how many teams around the league have you seen where there's 3 guys on the roster that the coach refuses to play. He won't play them in garbage minutes. He doesn't feel like they have any opportunities within the game to help the team win. So they're just sitting. To me, that's a weird situation. Right? So to me, that's kind of, I've never seen that. And you look at the money we're paying these guys, for them to not even have any contributions to the team at all is kind of crazy. You know, I'm not too upset about Evan Fournier and Derrick Rose. Really, I'm just throwing them into my frustration about Cam not playing. But the point remains the same. We've got almost, $30 million in payroll just parked at the end of the bench. What's going on?
Yeah, no doubt. You have more than actually the $30 million parked there. So yeah, maybe Cam asked Dice out for dinner and got Tibbs all upset. I don't know.
It's nuts. Let me see if I can put them on screen, just so we can see. So boom. So you can see the three guys currently on the bench that Tibbs has no use for at the moment: Cam Reddish, Derrick Rose, and Evan Fournier. Now I'm not too upset with Derrick Rose and Evan Fournier being on the bench. Fournier defense has just not been serviceable for this squad. He's probably best used off the bench in a smaller spurt for a team that's contending and a team that can hide him with better defenders on the perimeter. But to pair him with Jalen Brunson was just a recipe for a disaster from the start. I mean, we saw that last year with Kimba. Salute to Kimba. I think he played his first game with the Mavs, so I wish him all the best. Derrick Rose, you can see, I don't want to say he's a shell of himself because that's a little bit disrespectful, but he just can't stay in front of NBA athletes or NBA guards anymore. And even though he's able to find his own shot, he was better shooting the three. He can still get into the paint and make some shots. Just defensively, he's just too much of a liability. And I think you can see how good the second unit has looked now that we have Deuce in there replacing him, and how better we are defensively and how more difficult it is for teams to try and score. But to me, the real perplexing one is Cam, because Cam, I think, still has a role on this team where he can contribute. But for some reason, Tibbs is set on this 9-man rotation. And as long as it's working, it's really hard to come at him. So as long as it's working, it is what it is. But I still think Cam can contribute and be someone out for this team that can, be a difference maker. I really wanted to see a lineup with Quick, Grimes, and Cam out there, but we never really got to see much of it, if at all. And I would have liked to see Cam, Grimes, and Deuce out there. I don't recall seeing Cam and Grimes out there on the court together for the most part. And if they were on the court together, it was for limited minutes. So to me, the Cam Reddish one is still perplexing. He's a young guy. I think he still could be someone that can, be a difference maker out there. So it's unfortunate that this is the route Tibbs decided to take. But you can, I pretty much imagine that he'll be moved at some point. I don't think they're going to sit him for the entirety of the season. Let us go past the trade deadline and have him walk away as a free agent.
I think he's gone in a few weeks. For like you said, for them to do this we didn't see something on the court. We didn't see something that, warranted it. So while me and the SV Nation's like, what the hell did he do, man, behind the scenes to have this happen? So I think they're just basically talking to Clutch, who represents him, and says, do what you do, come back, and if you can get a deal for us, we'll make it work.
Yeah, and I didn't even realize he was Clutch until and then the Lakers rumor started to make sense. I'm like, oh, no wonder the Lakers want him. He's one of those Clutch guys. So as you can see, there are some rumors spreading about teams potentially interested in Cam. You can see this is from Ian Bakley. The Lakers, Heat, and Bucks are among the teams to show interest in Cam Reddish this past year. So there are going to be some teams that would be willing to make a deal. It'll be up to the Knicks to see if they'll get a fair offer and decide to move off of him. I mean, what do you think Cam could get at this point? Because the fact that we're parking all these guys at the end of the bench, we're just devaluing them. So even if we do trade them, we're not going to get much in return. So I think for Cam, what would we get? A second-round pick, if that? You think we get more? Maybe a late first?
I don't think we'll get a late first, only because when he came from Atlanta, even though he was injured, a lot of people saw a lot of potential. And the only other offer besides the Knicks offer, which landed him, was 2 seconds from the LA Lakers. So that was before he went through this spell with the Knicks where Keith just said, I think it's devaluing his worth. So I think it's going to come down to maybe he's just going to be a throw-in to get rid of a Fournier contract, or Fournier Rose with a Cam to get rid of him and just move on.
What to me was getting pretty frustrating is the fact that this front office has to kind of undo their moves within a year. We brought in Kimba, we're going to have to undo that. We brought in Cam, we're going to have to undo that. You know, Fournier is not exactly a year, but it's a year and some change, and we're going to have to undo that. So it's
some collateral to get rid of Alec Burks,
Nerlens Noel, Kimba.
Yeah.
It's to me.
We did a stream a couple of weeks ago. Started with the front office. Why do you keep making moves that you got to use assets to get rid of? Also prevent us, whether making a draft choice, whether it was the one and only Tari Eason, your favorite, or a few others.
And then they want to flaunt about how we have all these, draft assets and things of that nature. Well, we won't have them if you keep attaching them to players to make them, ship them out of town.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, Tari Eason's having a killer season, man. Not having a Bennett Mathurin or obviously Apollo, but he has one of the top plus minus on box plus minus, which shows a winning player, man. I told you one of the things that I loved about that kid, he led the nation in his last year before he got drafted and run down blocks. So he never gives up on a play. That's the type of guys you want on your team.
Facts. All right, let's see what we have going on in chat. East Blue Drew says they should just build him up to move him. I'm assuming that's Cam. Yeah, that's why you would want him to get some minutes. So at least you can, showcase that he has some talent and some skills, and hopefully a team will reach out and try to pluck him from us. But we've got him at the end of the bridge.
Good point to it. As long as they're sitting him, at least they'll be able to trade a healthy player. I'm serious. I think they may be worried that he's going to get injured and it'll plummet even further.
It could be a reason. Let's see what else we got going on. Building Blocks agrees with you. Foxy says you have to attach Cam to D Rose or Fournier.
Thank you, sir.
Ace of Spades says anywhere but Miami, trade him. Miguel says that's on Tibbs. Nick Yak says I'm not sold on Hartenstein we always get this wrong. Hartenstein
now.
Oh, well, he Hartenstein. All right, cool.
Yeah, it's like Frankenstein, so it's Hartenstein. And I saw him in an interview, and that's how he liked to be pronounced, with the Stein part.
All right, so I'm gonna just call him Floatenstein. So I am not sold on Floatenstein at 4 because before we get rid of Cam. John Talento says Keys facts. Chris Dada says the front office stinks. Tibbs and the scouting crew are the only ones doing their jobs. The scouts are doing their jobs. I like the players that we've drafted, even though it hasn't been like an elite crop of players in terms of their talent.
You give a talent evaluator a pick at 25, he's going to have to do what he can, and they've done very well.
Mm-hmm. So I'm definitely a fan of what the scouting department has done, but when it comes to acquisitions in terms of free agency, definitely been a miss so far. We surveyed 100 people, 30 more likes to 100. Let's hit that like button, squad. Facts. We got 72 likes, 171 in chat. Thank you all for tuning in. We really appreciate the support and the turnout. Sometimes us being in the pregame slot can, push down the turnout a little bit, but you guys are showing out in full force. So we really do appreciate you guys supporting the stream.
Super appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Lex the Destroyer says Faulenstein. That's a fact. All right. But with that being said, let's talk about the major rumor that's swirling around. And it's the fact that the Knicks could be preparing to make a trade for one Zach Lavine. Now, me personally, not really a fan of pursuing a Zach Lavine. I always thought that us going after one of these marquee guards would have to include RJ Barrett in any deal to get it done. But the way RJ has been performing, lately, I've kind of backed up off that stance. But I don't know if Zach Lavine is the guy that I would want this front office to try and target and bring in and trade for, because, Zach Lavine, he's a solid player, but I think he's a step down from Donovan Mitchell. And I don't know if a team built around Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson, and Zach Lavine is really going to get us to the promised land, and that's to win a championship. So, Foxy, how would you feel about the Knicks if they did pursue Zach Lavine in a trade and try to build a championship roster around that trio?
The famous words of the philosopher Keys, hell no. I would not do that trade in a million years. I have a lot of fun, tenets of what I'm doing with players, and I never trade for a player that had a catastrophic knee injury, and B is still having problems with a knee injury, and C that has a contract of his size, and D Donovan Mitchell has a higher defensive rating than Zach Lavine this year. So he's a very good player on one side of the ball. So he's fantastic, but we're the Knicks. We have a curse assigned to us. I could just see Antonio McDyess, the sequel, coming out. We give all these assets and everything. He comes here, and that knee, just limits him. And we're like, what the hell did we do? So I wouldn't do that in a million years.
And speaking of Zach Lavine's contract, let's put that on screen just so everybody can get a better understanding of what the Knicks would have to pay him if we do go and make a deal for Zach Lavine. And it's not really us having to pay him. It's what he counts against the cap. I really don't care what the players get paid. You look at, football, I don't really care what they get paid. I care what they get count against a cap, because then we can't make moves because we're either capped out or we can't make the salaries fit. So looking at the cap hit for Zach Lavine throughout his contract, you can see the first season, $37 million. Then it goes up to $40 million after that, then $43 million in 24-25, $45 million, damn near $46 million in 25-26. And then he has a player option for $48.9 million in 26-27.
And you know damn well you're going to pick that up.
Exactly. Let's be realistic. There aren't too many players around the league that would opt out from $48 million. So this is going to be a steep contract for the Knicks to take on if we do try and make a move for Zach Lavine. And the reason I say, is Zach Lavine, Julius Randle, and Jalen Brunson enough to win you a championship is because if you make this deal, pretty much that's going to be your trio. You won't have much room to really make a deal because you're going to have to give up draft capital to get Zach Lavine, you would assume. And you're also going to have to give up young players. So you're going to deplete the depth of this squad, even though we're only going with a 9-man roster, but you're going to deplete the depth. And you're also going to bring on and add salary that's going to make it hard for us to be flexible moving forward. And I just don't think that core of players is really going to be what it'll take to compete against the teams, not even in the Eastern Conference. Look at our division. Look at the Nets with KD, who knows how long Kyrie will be there, but Ben Simmons. Look at the 76ers when they figure it out. You got Harden, you've got Embiid, you've got Maxey, you've got Tobias Harris when he decides to show up. Look at the Celtics. You've got Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, enough said. I don't think Lavine, Randle, and Jalen Brunson is going to be a good enough core to be competitive in our own division, let alone the conference or the entirety of the league to win a championship. So me personally, I would be out on Zach Lavine, and I would hope that the Knicks don't fall into a trap and try to do
desperation.
Exactly, out of desperation, knowing that they could be on the way out of here.
Yeah, this is crazy. The whole beauty with Donovan Mitchell, not only his talent, was his contract.
Mm-hmm. Was it $32 million a year this season?
Yeah, it was a steal, man. And this is just the opposite, and especially with a guy that has one wheel that's hurting.
One wheel, Foxy with the with the haymakers today. Speaking about the wheel or the bad wheel, let's see if I can put that on screen for everybody to see, so that way at least everybody is understanding what you're referencing. So if everybody's aware, Zach Lavine did have a injury to his knee back in the day. It was a tore his ACL, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly.
And as recently as February 13, 2022, he's still dealing with some issues with his knee. This is a report from ESPN. You can see it reads, Chicago Bulls All-Star guard Zach Lavine is traveling to Los Angeles to get further evaluation on his left knee, but still hopes to participate in next Sunday's All-Star game. Lavine has been experiencing discomfort in the knee for several weeks, and although a January MRI showed no structural damage, there's certainly a level of concern within the organization's sources previously told ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. So once again, you have the contract issues, but there's also some health issues that may creep up throughout his time on that deal. So it's a big risk for the Knicks to give up the assets it would need to bring in a guy like Zach Lavine, and then also have the concerns that maybe that knee may not be 100% throughout the duration of the contract. So it's a scary situation for the Knicks to be in if they are pursuing Zach Lavine.
Yeah, and and as it said, the Bulls, I'd be very scared. I was the Bulls, like I signed this guy knowing that he had a bad knee, and look at this crazy contract. But folks, he's probably going to go to Europe and other places because of whether certain treatments that you can't do because of FDA here in the United States. I think he's had some quote unquote lubricants injected into that knee.
They call that the Kobe route.
Exactly. You nailed it. So the Kobe route, and no, he's not Kobe. So why would you go through the expense using up assets and everything, and also for a guy that doesn't play defense?
Also, Nick Yak says All-Star game is next week. I apologize if I didn't make this clear. This was from February 13th, 2022, and it was just to show you guys that, Zach Lavine has still been dealing with some issues as recently as this season. As this year, last season.
As this year, exactly. So he came back from a catastrophic knee injury, and he's still going around to the top specialist saying, my knee is killing me.
Yeah, so definitely something that Knicks should be concerned about if they do try and target Zach Lavine in a deal. And moving from one injury to another, let's talk about our guy, Obi Toppin. Now, unfortunately, Obi Toppin dealing with a fracture to his knee. You can see this is the report. Obi Toppin will be reevaluated in 2 to 3 weeks after he was diagnosed with a non-displaced fracture in his right knee. Toppin suffered the injury during Wednesday's win by the New York Knicks over the Atlanta Hawks. Toppin is averaging 7.7 points, 3.8 rebounds, and 1 assist in 17.1 minutes over 25 games this season. Now, Obi Toppin, if you don't know what a non-displaced fracture is, it's a fracture where the bone breaks, but it's still aligned. And if you want to picture that in your head, think about a glass, or even think about your windshield in the car. When you crack your windshield, there's a break in the glass, but for the most part it's still aligned and it's still set on your car. So that's how you can think about a non-displaced fracture. So it's something that doesn't necessarily have to be treated with surgery. They can allow it to heal on its own, and then they'll follow up in about 2 to 3 weeks just to check on the status to see if it's healing properly. And if it is healing properly, they'll continue to move forward with the same type of therapy. And if there is an issue, then at that point, they may have to go in and fix things via surgery. But hopefully that's not what happens. The Knicks are big fans of Obi Toppin, and I would want them to get back as quickly as possible so we can get him back into the lineup, into the rotation, to see what we have with our number 8 pick in the draft from a couple years ago. So, Foxy, what was some of your thoughts when you heard about the news about Obi Toppin and the knee fracture?
Yeah, I don't like to see any of the young guys hurt, and I didn't think when I watched it it was an injury of that level. I thought it was a bruise more than anything. But I happened to be my wife and I talked to an orthopedic friend of ours and mentioned this, and he said that don't be surprised, it's more like 6 to 8 weeks, more than 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's not going to be 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, so he'll be reevaluated in 2 to 3 weeks. So don't be surprised he's not here for 6 to 8 weeks, folks. So it's going to be interesting, and that's why the earlier conversations with Cam and other things, it's like, yeah, we know we're playing around with iHeart at the 4 with Sims and stuff, but if this guy, our backup guy, is gonna be out 8 weeks, and we've learned any lessons from the past, you don't want to run Julius 42 minutes a game. What are you going to do as the backup 4 here? So I know the whispers of Melo, maybe bringing a Melo or other things, but I don't know if Obi's going to be here for 2 months, folks.
I saw a report saying that the Knicks didn't want to bring in Melo because they expected Obi to return and they wanted him to get, some decent minutes. But I don't know. I don't know if that was a legit report. I just saw that circulating on social media. So, don't say you heard it from me. But
yeah, and I always worry about guys that have that are vertically, have a vertical gift. That's explosion. When the guy can jump the way that Obi does, that's a lot of violence on that joint, that knee, and everything else. So hopefully everything heals well.
Yep, and because the bone he broke is not a weight bearing bone, so the way you would aggravate that while it's recovering is basically your muscle and trying to move off of the foot. So
I think the tibia is the weight bearing one.
Yeah, and so hopefully he'll be able to figure it out and stay in shape. Because remember when Mitch left when Mitch got injured, he had some difficulties with his conditioning when he came back. So that's another thing we're gonna have to keep an eye on once Obi is able to return.
Absolutely.
Let's see, 11 more likes till 100. Make sure you guys smash that like button. We really appreciate it. We're getting close. Thank you guys for tuning in and all the support. We really appreciate it. Let's see. Go ahead. Just
a quick shout out to the CA Mafia. Hope all is well. He's saying salute Keith and Foxy. C. Cartagena. Hope all is well. My good friend Anthony R. Please send my regards to Danette. Let's see. Clevens, Derace, bad knees, bad contract, or recipe for disaster. No need for Zach Lavine. Grand Party's winner right there.
Yeah, that's a fact. I don't know why they keep linking us to Zach Lavine. There's no reason for us to go after him. Donovan Mitchell was decent. You could live with that. But Zach Lavine, I just don't think he's the guy. Solid player, of course. But I just don't see Zach Lavine as someone that we should be building our team around if we have real championship aspirations. I mean, look what he's doing, or look what he has been unable to do in Chicago, and they have a solid supporting cast around him. The bench, not necessarily great, but when you have that amount of talent in the starting lineup, you better figure it out. They got Zach Lavine, DeMar DeRozan, Vucevic, Lonzo when he was healthy. So they have some decent players over there, and they still can't figure it out. I don't know why people would think if we bring Zach Lavine over here, things would magically get better or magically change. But, people are entitled to their opinions, and salute to them.
Yeah. We have a super chat from our good friend Chris Dada.
Salute to Chris Dada for the super chat. He says, after being at the bottom so long, I'm okay with being in the middle right now. No star trade. Our front office is inept. Draft, develop, repeat. And that's another question that you have to ask yourself. Are you comfortable with this front office making the trade? I mean, we've already said that the moves they made to acquire talent in free agency have not panned out. The only thing that has worked is the draft. So
Brunson.
Yeah, and Brunson. But even that, I mean, this is one of the only teams in the league that has a major hole at point guard, and Jalen Brunson was the top point guard available. So I want to give them a lot of credit for bringing in the most obvious need to the team. I mean, we've been saying for years that this team has needed a point guard, and they went out and brought in the best available point guard. I mean, it was the same thing we did.
Was he, though?
Who?
Just meaning you and I, when we did the show and behind the scenes, folks, we were saying when you're doing roster construction and put your GM hat on, each move you're looking for how are you going to put together a team? We love Jalen Brunson. But in a perfect world, we would have rather had a Tyrese Halliburton who was available for Indiana, and a player like DeJounte Murray who was available for Atlanta. So those two would have been above the list for us to get as the point guard of our future, because there's no downside on the defensive side like there is on Brunson. So he's really good. He's really smart and everything like that, but he wasn't the prototype point guard that we would have selected as a GM. He's great compared to Elfrid Payton, and he's a huge step up for what we've had, but still he's not the perfect point guard if we had a choice of putting a team together. I think you, me, and the SV Nation love Brunson, but SV Nation, what do you think? Would you have rather had DeJounte Murray and or Halliburton over Brunson? Let us know.
I'm definitely having Halliburton over Brunson, but I was just talking about free agency.
Oh, cool.
Because they haven't really made any major trades, so it really was hard to grade them on the trade. So I was saying, based on what they did in acquisitions and free agency, they've been nothing short of terrible outside of the Jalen Brunson deal. So do we as Knicks fans want this front office to be at the helm to make a move that would pretty much tie us to Zach Lavine, and you would assume Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle for the next 3-4 years? I don't think this is the front office that should be making that type of decision. So Chris, thank you for that super chat and bringing it up, because it helps us move to our Around the League article for today, and that would be the situation over there in Golden State. So as you can see, the Warriors, Myers still is without a new deal. Golden State Warriors president of basketball operations, Bob Myers, the architect of 4 NBA championships in the past 8 years, is entering into the final months of his contract and remains without a deal, sources told ESPN. Now, I know Knicks fans might have had enough of agents running the show, or former agents running the show, but I think Bob Myers has proven that he knows how to get it done when it comes to building a championship contender. I think if you look at the Warriors, the only move that he wasn't at the helm for is Stephen Curry. But everything else, he's pretty much been either the assistant GM or the GM running the show. And I think if he, for some reason, is unable to work out a new deal with the Golden State Warriors, he should be at the top of the list. You know, everybody says Ujiri is the guy when it comes to running a front office. But I think Bob Myers is right up there with him. And, you know, Ujiri's, for the most part, never available. So if Bob Myers does become available, James Dolan needs to, you know, make some moves, clear the front office, and bring in a guy like Bob Myers with his pedigree and seeing what he's been able to do with the Golden State Warriors. And I know it'll be difficult, sure, even though that they haven't been able to finalize any type of deal, doesn't mean he's going to be leaving. But it's a situation at the front office, that James Dolan should be keeping an eye on.
I'm with you. There is a little difference between him and Leon Rose. You know, Bob Myers played forward at UCLA, so he did actually play very high level basketball. So there is some knowledge that you gain, you know, understanding talent and stuff like that when you play at that level. And he is a lawyer. You know, he was an agent, like he said. But you know, the weird thing is, if you take a step back and think of Golden State, they have almost $500 million in salary. You know, luxury tax. And if you look at that roster, you know, they have a lot of older guys. You know, Curry, God bless him, how long could he keep it up? Clay's not the same player he was 3 years, you know, prior to the injuries. You know, Draymond. And if you look at the young kids, Weissman hasn't worked out. That was a big high draft choice. Jonathan Kuminga is shooting in the 20%. You know, when we did our show a couple of years ago, I said, my concerns with Kuminga, I know athletically he's good, but can he shoot? Very similar to, we'll be talking about the draft this year. You have athletic guys who can't shoot. Moses Moody is just so, you know, so he's not going to have a lot of leverage. So not that the Knicks are, you know, a young core like a Tatum or a Brown that you want to jump ship to, but he may not be able, his hands may be tied for him to do any more magic with the Warriors. So I would not be shocked if something happened in the future that he went to the Knicks, you know, because he may be saying, you know what, I'm going to have real bad years ahead with the Warriors. I'm not going to be able to do a darn thing.
Yeah, and if that's how he feels, I think the Knicks would definitely be a soft landed spot. I mean, it's going to be difficult looking at the media and the scrutiny he'd be under, but you see we have draft capital. I mean, I think we still have some roster flexibility. If you look at some of the vets we can move, if we're able to get off of those guys, I think it definitely helps to make our cap situation a lot healthier. So if Bob Myers is looking for another challenge to, you know, overcome, what bigger challenge is there in the NBA than making the Knicks into legitimate NBA contenders? I mean, you know, we've been waiting forever, but I've never seen this team win a championship, and it's something that I would pay, I don't know, I'd pay a lot of money to see the Knicks win a championship. I saw the Giants win a championship. I loved everything from those 2 years. They were magical, and I want to have that same magic here with the Knicks. You know, not only that, the Knicks are one of the only teams that when they win, the parade is actually going to be in decent weather. So I'm ready. I'm ready for the parade. We just need the architect to help build it. So hopefully Bob Myers could be that type of guy.
Yeah, folks, believe me, there's not too many positives of being old. Believe me. But one of the only positives I can say is seeing the Knicks win a championship as a young kid. And Walt Frazier, to this day, is my idol. He was the greatest guard. Everything, all my buddies and everything, we all emulated the way he shot, his fake, and when, Marv Albert and everything that, and just the way they played, that whole team, Bill Bradley, we watched this team. And then you watch the teams that won championships. The Knicks was nonstop movement with Bradley and DeBusschere, and you had Willis Reed, and you had obviously the Pearl and all these other guys, and it was like magical. And before the Lord takes me, I just paid it forward. I experienced the euphoria of being a young man watching the Knicks win, and nothing would make me happier than to see the SV Nation and just the Knick fandom, especially young, to experience the wonderful feeling of going through a journey and having a team win a championship, especially the Knicks.
Or even a finals run. At least you can get up for that. You're hype. You don't win, but at least you got there and you got some hope for the following season. Yeah, this whole first round nonsense is not it.
It's been too long. We deserve a win. I love this city. I love the people. We deserve a win. Come on, Lord. We don't ask a lot.
Yeah, we deserve to win, but we got to get there first. So, baby steps. Baby steps.
Yeah. Maybe one of these years a ping pong ball will go our way and we get a draft choice or a draft pick that turns out to be the player that, exceeds everyone's expectations and everyone comes together. So that's all I hope, is that everybody could just experience that time saying, the New York Knicks world champions. I experienced it twice.
Don't hold your breath for the ping pong luck. That's all I'm saying.
All right, so
no, it's gonna be some other way. It won't be ping pong luck. It'll be us getting lucky by drafting somebody at 7. It'll be us lucking into a trade. It ain't gonna be ping pong luck, that's for sure. We already saw that when we had the best opportunity to draft number 1, and they dropped our ass all the way down to 3. And that's no disrespect to RJ. Salute to him. I'm happy he's on the squad, but I would have preferred to be 1 or 2. That's just me being open and honest.
Now, you wouldn't rather job.
It is what it is. But
and I am so happy for Zion. We did shows about our concern about circulation and that broken foot bone. Yo, man, I've seen dunks over this last week. He looks like he's totally over it. Although I did not appreciate that dunk with 1.9 seconds left in a game.
I did. He out there styling on him. What you mean?
Well, I'm old school. You have to show respect to the basketball guys, and that comes back to haunt your ass in the future when you show disrespect like that.
And the Suns are showing respect when they're out there dancing on the court.
That was in the playoffs, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was in the playoffs, but you probably should have the utmost respect because you're one of the few that got there.
Ixnay on the Wixnay.
Also, want to give a shout out to we surveyed 100 people. I saw both starting lineups. Thank you. I got to make sure I give him a shout out with the lineups before we log off. He says the New York Knicks starting lineup is going to be Brunson, Grimes, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson. No surprise there. And I think I saw him send. Let me know if you see it. I thought I see it. Here we go. Sacramento Kings starting 5. Davion Mitchell, Kevin Huerter, Keegan Murray, Harrison Barnes, and Domantas Sabonis. So, as expected, no De'Aaron Fox, which is good for us, even better for Tibbs. But hopefully we can go out there and get a dub. I like the Sunday games. To me, are kind of bittersweet. One, it kind of moves us off our usual time spot, which kind of sucks. But Sundays are the only day that I get to actually watch the Knicks in the comfort of my home and relax. So Sundays, it moves us off our time spot. But I'm lucky that I get to at least enjoy the game instead of watching it while working.
Yeah, I'm going to enjoy the game, and then I'm going to watch the season finale of The White Lotus on HBO, a series I've been watching and enjoying.
Oh, yeah? What's that about?
It's about crazy people. Since its second season, it's about crazy people at a resort. Last year was in Hawaii, and this year's in Sicily. And so there's a lot of craziness, a lot of nudity, and that's so.
And that's good.
So it doesn't take much for me to watch.
Well, it sounds like a dope show. I always wanted to visit Sicily, but I don't know if I'm allowed back in Italy. I got parking tickets and speeding tickets, and I still ain't pay. I'll get to it one of these days.
It was funny. I said to my wife, you notice during the show, it's very realistic. When they ask, "Are you Italian?" they say, "I'm a Sicilian." So they don't say, yes, I'm Italian. They always differentiate if you're Sicilian from Italian.
Hey, well, we do that when we're from the city. You can't say you're a New Yorker if you're not from the city. You're from New York State. You got to specify that because out-of-towners won't know the difference.
Well, if you say I'm from 33rd and Toyd, I think they know maybe I'm from New York City.
Also, salute to the chat. You guys got us over 100 likes. We really appreciate the support. 109 likes, 120 in the chat. We really appreciate all the support. That's it for today's show. We'll be back next Sunday. Let me pull up the schedule. Is there a game? I think there's a game for the next 2 or 3 Sundays.
It is. I don't know what it is in the water, man. We never went through this last season. It happened, and then we go out of our regular time at 6-ish, and stuff. And now it's like we keep getting nailed. But thank you for your flexibility, SV Nation, and obviously your support. We love you guys. Hey, shout out to Andrew K. Hey, Andrew, you're wonderful, man. From day one, Andrew's always been fantastic. I remember Andrew and I, a couple years ago on Raw Hebrew, in his chat, I wanted us to draft Tyrese Halliburton, and Raw Hebrew he wanted Devin Vassell, and we see Vassell's balling out, so it was a smart. Raw Hebrew knows his basketball, but that was when I first met Andrew. So Andrew, we've been friends for a long time, man. You're good people.
Yep, salute to Andrew K. And looking at the schedule, yeah, we play Indiana next Sunday at 5. So I guess maybe we'll do the pregame. My math's off. 4:30? No, 3:30.
3:30.
Yeah, I'm bugging. And then Philly, they play a matinee. So that won't be too bad. We can probably do the same time, just at 6.
Yep.
All right, so now you guys know the itinerary. We hope to see you there for the next few shows. Thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate the support. Just want to give a quick shout out to everybody in chat. CAA Mafia, Kaiser Soze, Kenny Payne, Juan Ventura, Clovins Durace, Ronnie Farley. Thank you all for the support. We really do appreciate it. And let's hope the Knicks can finish this game with a W. I'm thrilled to see how we can perform against this Sacramento Kings team, who's been pretty solid so far. They've been a real big surprise to a lot of pundits around the league, and it'll be a solid test for the Knicks, even though they don't have De'Aaron Fox. So I'm excited. Fox, are you excited?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, shout out to Juan Ventura, Armanas Rakakukas, Building Blocks, and again, my friends Danette and Anthony. Have a great day, and we're excited. Ace of Spade again. Thank you so much for the shout outs. Appreciate it.
Yep. So once again, thank you all for tuning in. I'm Keith, host of Sports Vibes TV, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host Stephen Fox. And until next time.
Love you.